Have you ever felt invisible, as if no one truly sees the value you bring, no matter how hard you try? That quiet ache in your chest, the one that whispers, "Why don't they notice me?" It's not weakness, it's clarity calling you to rise. Right now, someone somewhere is quietly waiting for the version of you that owns your worth. But first, you must claim it yourself. Imagine walking into a room and feeling an undeniable presence, a magnetic pull that makes people stop, listen, and respect not just what you do, but who you are. That is not a fantasy. That is the power that lies dormant inside you, waiting to be awakened, and today you will begin to unlock it. The truth is, the world does not give value to those who quietly hope for it. It gives value to those who demand it through presence, consistency, and self-belief. The energy you carry speaks louder than words. When you begin to own every step you take, every thought you entertain, and every action you commit to, the universe begins to mirror that power back. People sense confidence, and they are drawn to it like gravity. But confidence alone is not enough. True value comes from a combination of self-respect, clarity of purpose, and the ability to make others feel seen in your presence. When you start to cultivate that, everything changes. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. Conversations shift, opportunities arise, and slowly but surely people begin to recognize your worth, not because you demanded it, but because it cannot be ignored. Think about the people you admire, the ones who seem to command respect effortlessly. They did not arrive there by chance. They understood the unspoken rule. When you know your value, the world has no choice but to follow. They developed habits that cultivated attention, loyalty, and admiration. They did not chase validation, they radiated it. And that is the first secret you must internalize. Your value is not defined by others' recognition, but by the depth of your self-awareness and the consistency of your actions. Once you grasp this, everything else becomes a tool, a series of strategies designed to amplify what you already possess. By the end of this journey, you will understand how to make people notice you, respect you, and ultimately seek your presence. Not because you begged for it, not because you performed for it, but because you became someone impossible to overlook. You will discover the precise ways to increase your influence, your presence, and your magnetic power in both personal and professional spaces. You will leave behind the anxiety of invisibility and step into a life where you are sought after, desired for the value only you can offer. So stay with me, lean into this experience, because what you are about to learn will shift the way you see yourself and how the world sees you. Every word, every strategy, every insight will bring you closer to a reality where people not only notice you, they will beg for you, not out of desperation, but because you have become someone they cannot imagine their lives without. This is your invitation to step fully into your power, to claim your presence, and to finally show the world the true value of who you are. The moment you realize this, everything changes, and it begins now. What if I told you that the key to being truly valued starts with a single radical choice to stop shrinking yourself for others, to stop dimming your light so someone else can feel comfortable? Every time you hesitate to show your strength, to speak your truth, to take the space you deserve, you are silently telling the world that your presence is negotiable. That stops today. Your energy, your time, your talents, they are not up for bargaining. When you embrace this, you create a gravitational field around yourself. People are drawn to confidence that is rooted not in arrogance, but in unwavering self-respect. They sense when you carry yourself with authenticity, and they instinctively recognize that what you offer cannot be replicated. Begin by valuing yourself in the smallest moments. The way you respond to challenges, the way you guard your time, the way you honor your own commitments. These are not just habits, they are signals. Signals that tell the world you are someone who is not easily swayed, not easily replaced, and not easily overlooked. Every decision you make, no matter how small, either reinforces your worth or erodes it. Stop allowing the opinions of others to dictate your self-perception. Begin aligning every action with the person you know you can be. The more consistent you are in this alignment, the more people around you will sense a magnetic stability, a rare clarity that draws admiration naturally, effortlessly, and powerfully. Your boundaries are your blueprint for respect, Every time you allow yourself to be stretched thin, every time you say yes when you should say no, you teach others that your energy is expendable. But when you begin to honor your own limits, when you learn to say no without guilt, something shifts. People notice. They start to recognize that you are not available for mediocrity or disrespect. And suddenly, your presence becomes a currency. The respect you demand is not loud or forceful. It is quiet, undeniable, and earned through consistency. This is how influence is built. This is how value becomes visible. Remember that self-value is not a solo act. It radiates. When you respect yourself, others learn to respect you. When you prioritize your growth, people see potential in aligning with you. When you carry a sense of purpose and clarity, it becomes contagious. They will begin to seek your opinion, your collaboration, your energy. You will find that doors open, conversations shift, and people gravitate toward you naturally. Your inner standards create an outer magnetism. The world cannot ignore someone who knows their worth and refuses to settle for less. You are capable of becoming a force that others cannot overlook. It starts with recognizing that your energy is sacred, that your time is finite, and that your presence carries weight beyond what you have allowed yourself to believe. Every small act of self-respect compounds into a larger, undeniable power. The moment you fully embrace this, the dynamics around you will shift. You will no longer chase recognition. You will command it. People will feel the impact of your authenticity, your discipline, and your unwavering self-belief. You are moving toward a life where being valued is not a question. It is a certainty. This power is already within you, waiting for you to claim it. There is a force inside you that thrives on challenge, on courage, on the refusal to settle for anything less than what you know you deserve. Yet so often we allow fear to quiet that force. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of standing alone. These are not signs of weakness. They are signals that you are on the edge of growth. Every time you confront that fear and step forward anyway, you strengthen the invisible bridge between who you are now and the person the world cannot ignore. Value is not granted to those who remain comfortable. It is reserved for those who dare to show up fully, without apology, without compromise, without hesitation. The moment you begin to embrace fear as a compass rather than a chain, you awaken a magnetism that is impossible to resist. The energy you radiate is more powerful than any words you could speak. People do not only respond to your actions, they feel the weight of your presence, the depth of your confidence, the clarity of your intent. When you refuse to settle for superficial approval, when you operate from a space of authenticity and purpose, the universe takes notice. Your value begins to grow exponentially. Those around you sense the difference immediately. You become someone whose absence is felt, whose opinion is sought, whose standards are recognized as non-negotiable. This is not arrogance, it is mastery of self. And mastery of self is the most magnetic force you can cultivate. Every interaction you have is an opportunity to reinforce this power. The way you speak, the way you listen, the way you carry your energy, these are the brushstrokes of influence. When you consciously cultivate presence, when you allow your actions to align perfectly with your values, people respond with admiration, respect, and desire for connection. They notice integrity, they notice discipline, they notice someone who refuses to be anything less than extraordinary. And the truth is, extraordinary is not reserved for a chosen few. It is available to anyone willing to stand fully in their power, to honor themselves even when no one else does, to consistently deliver their value without hesitation or apology. Your confidence must be rooted in competence, your influence in authenticity, and your presence in unwavering self-respect. When these pillars are unshakable, you no longer wait for recognition, you command it. The world begins to bend in subtle ways toward your orbit. Opportunities that once seemed distant now appear as if drawn by your intentional energy. People begin to align with you naturally, seeking collaboration, guidance, and partnership. Your worth becomes a force that others cannot ignore, not because you demanded it, but because you made yourself indispensable through presence, clarity, and unwavering self-belief. Now is the time to step into that power. Each decision you make, each action you take, each moment you hold your ground in alignment with your highest self compounds into magnetic authority. The fear that once held you back becomes the very fuel that propels you forward. Every hesitation transforms into confidence. Every self-doubt transforms into clarity. And as you fully embrace this, you will notice a shift. People will begin to seek your attention, your energy, your influence. You will no longer chase validation. You will become someone who cannot be overlooked, whose value is recognized immediately, and whose presence leaves a lasting impact. This is the power you were born to claim, and it begins with the courage to fully stand in your own light. Every time you choose to elevate yourself, you are sending a signal to the world. You are not here to blend in, to conform, or to settle for less than you are capable of becoming. This choice is not always easy. It demands courage, discipline, and a willingness to stand apart when others are content to remain small. But this is the very thing that separates those who are admired from those who are overlooked. The moment you consistently choose your own growth over comfort, your own standards over approval, you begin to radiate a force that cannot be ignored. People instinctively notice someone who refuses to compromise on their value, and that attention transforms into influence, respect, and ultimately desire for your presence. Your mindset is the foundation of this power. Every thought you allow yourself to dwell on either strengthens your presence or diminishes it. Self-doubt, comparison, and hesitation are like anchors that keep you tethered to mediocrity. But every moment you consciously replace those thoughts with conviction, clarity, and self-respect, you are building an unshakable framework for influence. People do not just respond to what you say or do, they respond to the energy you emit. When your energy is grounded in confidence, consistency, and authenticity, it is magnetic. It pulls people in and compels them to recognize your worth without you having to beg, explain, or perform. You must also understand that value is amplified through contribution. People are drawn to those who enhance their lives, who elevate their experience, and who leave a tangible impact. When you focus on becoming someone who delivers consistently, who uplifts without expectation, and who operates from competence and integrity, your influence grows exponentially. Others cannot help but notice. Your presence becomes indispensable. They seek your input, your guidance, and your attention because you have created an undeniable resonance. A space where your worth is felt as much as it is seen. This is how admiration transforms into respect, and respect transforms into people actively valuing your presence. Boundaries are the invisible architecture of your influence. When you protect your time, your energy, and your focus, you create a sense of scarcity around yourself that increases your perceived value. People instinctively gravitate toward what is rare and non-negotiable. When you refuse to bend to every request, to dilute your energy for approval, or to compromise your standards, you are asserting a quiet but powerful authority. This is magnetic. It communicates to the world that your presence is not disposable, that your contributions are meaningful, and that being aligned with you requires recognition of your worth. The stronger your boundaries, the more others are compelled to seek your attention and respect. You are capable of becoming someone whose absence is felt and whose presence is desired. It begins with an unshakable commitment to yourself, your growth, your energy, and your standards. Every deliberate choice to honor your value compounds into a force that cannot be ignored. The fear of being overlooked, the anxiety of needing approval, the temptation to shrink, all of it begins to dissolve the moment you step fully into your power. And as you do, you will notice the shift. People will not just notice you, they will seek you, respect you, and value you in ways that reflect the unstoppable force you have become. This is the transformation that begins the moment you decide your worth is non-negotiable. Every action you take, every word you speak, and every decision you make is a reflection of your internal value. If you do not respect yourself, the world will not feel compelled to respect you either. This is not a harsh truth. It is a liberating one. It means the power to change how you are perceived has always been within you. The way you carry yourself, the standards you uphold, and the energy you allow into your space are all choices, and these choices compound into the force that makes others notice, admire, and ultimately seek your presence. You cannot control every opinion or reaction, but you can control the level of value you present to the world. And when that value is undeniable, it commands attention effortlessly. Clarity is the fuel of influence. When you know who you are, what you stand for, and what you will not tolerate, people feel it immediately. They are drawn to certainty because it offers stability in a world of chaos. Indecision, uncertainty, and compromise erode respect. But when your choices, boundaries, and actions are aligned with your highest self, you create a magnetic presence that others cannot ignore. They sense authenticity, they sense integrity, and they instinctively want to be around someone whose energy is steady, deliberate, and unshakable. This is the kind of value that transforms casual interactions into meaningful connections and fleeting attention into lasting recognition. Your time and attention are the most valuable currencies you possess. How you spend them tells the world what you consider important. People notice when you are selective, when you are intentional, and when your energy is reserved for the moments, people, and opportunities that align with your highest self. This selectivity is not exclusivity born from ego. It is an expression of self-respect. Every time you protect your focus, you are signaling to the world that your presence is precious, your contributions are intentional, and your influence is something to be earned. People begin to recognize this instinctively, and the demand for your presence grows. Discipline amplifies value. It is not enough to possess talent or potential. You must cultivate consistency, follow through, and a relentless commitment to growth. Those who rise to the top are rarely the most gifted. They are the most disciplined. Every time you deliver on your promises, uphold your commitments, and act with integrity, even when no one is watching, you build a reputation that cannot be shaken. Reputation becomes leverage, influence becomes inevitable, and respect becomes automatic. This is how you move from being noticed to being sought after, from being appreciated to being indispensable. Remember that influence is a reflection of the energy you carry. When you prioritize self-mastery, clarity, and consistency, you create an invisible pull that draws people toward you. They feel your presence, they respect your standards, and they recognize that what you offer is rare and valuable. This is not about forcing attention or demanding recognition. It is about becoming someone whose value cannot be ignored, someone whose presence adds weight to every space they enter. Every choice, every boundary, and every act of discipline compounds into a force that shifts how the world perceives you. And as you continue to embody this power, you will see a profound truth. The more you honor yourself, the more the world honors you. The moment you fully embrace this, you will move into a life where being valued is not optional. It is inevitable. Every time you settle for less than you deserve, you teach the world that your presence is negotiable. Every compromise, every moment you allow yourself to shrink to fit someone else's comfort, chips away at the value you radiate. But the moment you make the conscious choice to refuse this, to honor your worth without apology, you create a seismic shift in how others perceive you. You are no longer just a participant in life. You become a force that others notice, respect, and ultimately seek. There is power in refusal. There is strength in selectivity. There is magnetic energy in a person who refuses to be anything less than extraordinary. The first step is unwavering self-belief. Doubt is a silent thief of value. It whispers that you are not enough, that your presence is unimportant, that your influence is limited. Every time you allow that voice to dominate, you dilute your energy and diminish the impression you leave on others. But when you commit to believing in your worth, you reinforce the foundation of your influence. Confidence is not vanity, it is clarity. It is the recognition that your presence, your time, and your energy carry significance, and that significance shapes how the world interacts with you. When you believe it, others feel it. When you act like it, they respond accordingly. The way you carry yourself speaks louder than any words you could ever say. Presence is a language, and it is understood universally. When you align your posture, your energy, and your attention with the standards you hold for yourself, you communicate authority and integrity without a single sentence. People respond to presence instinctively. They sense energy that is grounded, focused, and unshakable. They are drawn to it. They respect it. They want to be part of it. And this is the core of being valued, creating an energy so compelling that the world instinctively gravitates toward you, seeking what only you can provide. Boundaries are the invisible signposts of worth. Every time you say yes, when you should say no, every time you overextend yourself to gain approval, you signal that your energy is limitless and that others can take it without consequence. But when you start to protect your time, your focus, and your emotional bandwidth, people begin to recognize your presence as rare and invaluable. Boundaries do not push people away. They elevate your influence. They show that you operate from self-respect, discipline, and clarity of purpose. And when your value is undeniable, the world responds by seeking access to it. Your value grows exponentially when it is paired with contribution. People are drawn to those who enhance their lives, who elevate their experiences, and who create impact without seeking validation. The more consistently you operate from competence, generosity, and integrity, the more magnetic your presence becomes. People do not just notice, they desire. They do not just admire, they follow. The energy of someone who knows their worth and refuses to settle for less is contagious, compelling, and transformative. Every choice you make to honor your own value, protect your presence, and elevate those around you compounds into influence. And when influence becomes undeniable, recognition is inevitable. You are capable of becoming someone whose presence is not just seen, but sought, respected, and valued above all else. There is an unspoken law in life. Those who are valued most are not those who seek approval, but those who create it through the depth of their presence. When you operate from a place of quiet strength, the world bends toward you. It notices the energy you bring, the standards you uphold, and the unwavering clarity of your purpose. People instinctively respond to someone who has mastered themselves because mastery is magnetic. It commands attention without demand. It attracts influence without force, and it ensures that your worth is recognized. Not occasionally, not sometimes, but consistently and undeniably. Your energy is the most potent signal you send. When you carry yourself with intention, focus, and self-respect, you communicate something far more powerful than words could ever convey. You are someone worth noticing, someone worth valuing, someone worth seeking. Every action, every decision, and every interaction reinforces that signal. The way you respond under pressure, the way you honor your commitments, the way you prioritize yourself. These are the subtle yet powerful markers of value. People sense when a presence is authentic, disciplined, and grounded, and they naturally gravitate toward it. Influence and admiration do not need to be forced. They follow the energy of someone who has claimed their worth fully and refuses to compromise it. Discipline and consistency are the engines of influence. Talent, potential, and opportunity matter, but they fade without the commitment to excellence that is sustained over time. Every act of integrity, every moment you deliver on your promises, every choice to uphold your standards builds a reputation that cannot be shaken. Reputation is not built through words, it is built through relentless alignment between who you are and how you show up. This alignment generates respect, and respect generates demand. People do not just notice those who show up, they begin to depend on them, seek their guidance, and value their presence as indispensable. This is how you move from being appreciated to being sought after. Boundaries are the framework through which your value is defined. When you protect your time, energy, and attention, you are declaring that your presence is not disposable. Each boundary communicates strength, integrity, and self-respect. People respond instinctively to this clarity. They understand that to access your influence, your time, or your collaboration, they must meet the standards you set. This scarcity is not exclusion, it is power. The more deliberate you are with your energy, the more magnetic your presence becomes. Those who once overlooked you now recognize your influence as rare and essential. Contribution amplifies value beyond recognition. People are naturally drawn to those who enhance their lives, who elevate experiences, and who create impact without expectation. When you consistently bring value through action, insight, and presence, you generate a force that cannot be ignored. Influence grows. Admiration follows. Desire for connection becomes inevitable. The combination of self-respect, disciplined presence, and consistent contribution transforms you into someone whose presence is actively sought, whose guidance is requested, and whose influence leaves a lasting imprint. This is the power of becoming a person the world cannot overlook. The moment you embody this, being valued is no longer optional, it becomes your reality. Every choice you make sends a signal about the kind of person you are and the level of respect you demand. When you consistently align your actions with your highest standards, you communicate a silent but undeniable message. Your presence is powerful, your energy is valuable, and your worth cannot be ignored. People sense this energy instinctively. They respond to it before words are spoken, before explanations are offered. It is the invisible force that separates those who are merely present from those who are sought after, admired, and ultimately valued. To be recognized, respected, and desired, you must first command your own respect, define your boundaries, and operate from unwavering self-belief. Your confidence is contagious. When you act with certainty, clarity, and intentionality, others begin to mirror that energy. They see someone who is grounded, disciplined, and authentic, and they instinctively want to align themselves with that presence. Confidence is not about arrogance. It is about consistency, self-awareness, and mastery over your own mind and emotions. Every moment of hesitation, doubt, or compromise diminishes your influence. But every choice to stand tall, to honor your time, to uphold your standards, and to protect your energy compounds into a magnetic authority that draws people toward you naturally. This is how value transforms into influence, and influence into undeniable recognition. Presence is not about being loud, it is about being felt. The energy you radiate, the focus you maintain, and the boundaries you uphold all communicate power. People respond to those who are deliberate, disciplined, and unwavering. They sense when someone is genuine, consistent, and committed to their own growth. This is the invisible language of influence, and it is understood universally. Those who fail to harness it remain unnoticed, overlooked, and undervalued. Those who master it become indispensable, sought after, and admired. To command value, you must cultivate presence that is intentional, grounded, and magnetic. A presence that people cannot ignore. Boundaries are not barriers. They are declarations of self-worth. When you protect your time, your energy, and your focus, you communicate that your contributions are not available for casual consumption. This clarity creates scarcity, and scarcity drives desire. People respect what is rare, what is deliberate, what is consistently aligned with high standards. Your boundaries define your influence. They signal to the world that your presence has weight, that your input carries significance, and that your energy is not to be taken lightly. The more disciplined you are in enforcing these boundaries, the more people will naturally seek your presence, approval, and guidance. Contribution multiplies influence. People are drawn to those who uplift, enhance, and transform the spaces they enter. When you operate from competence, integrity, and generosity, your energy becomes irresistible. People do not just notice your value, they desire it. They seek your insight, your collaboration, and your presence. This is the essence of becoming someone who is not only recognized, but actively pursued. The combination of confidence, presence, discipline, and contribution forms a force that commands respect and admiration. When you embody this fully, being valued is no longer a hope, it becomes an inescapable reality. Your worth is not something to be negotiated, earned, or begged for. It is something to be recognized and honored through the energy you carry, the standards you uphold, and the consistency with which you show up. Every time you allow yourself to shrink, to settle, or to seek approval, you diminish the signal that tells the world who you are. But when you step fully into your power, when you refuse to compromise on your values and operate with unwavering clarity, you create an energy that cannot be ignored. People respond to this energy instinctively. They feel the authority, the confidence, and the authenticity you radiate, and they begin to seek alignment with it. Influence is rooted in mastery over yourself. The way you think, the way you act, and the way you protect your energy sends a message far more powerful than words. When your thoughts are aligned with self-respect, when your actions reflect discipline, and when your energy is reserved for what truly matters, people sense your value without needing explanation. They recognize someone whose presence is purposeful, whose time is precious, and whose contributions are meaningful. This is how admiration is cultivated, respect is commanded, and people begin to actively seek your presence. The strongest force in human interaction is the magnetism of someone who knows their worth and refuses to settle for anything less. Your presence is the foundation of your influence. It is not measured by how many people notice you, but by how deeply those who matter are affected by your energy. When you maintain focus, clarity, and unwavering standards, your presence becomes a signal that others cannot ignore. People are drawn to stability, authenticity, and discipline. They are compelled by energy that is grounded and consistent. When your presence is magnetic, recognition is inevitable. It is no longer about asking to be valued. It becomes a natural byproduct of the force you radiate. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to reinforce your worth, to deepen respect, and to amplify influence. Boundaries amplify the perception of value. They are the invisible framework that communicates strength, focus, and self-respect. Every time you protect your time, energy, and attention, you demonstrate that your presence is not freely available, that your contributions are not expendable, and that your energy is not for casual consumption. People instinctively respond to this clarity. They understand that engaging with you requires respect and alignment. The more consistent you are in upholding boundaries, the more your presence is sought, your insight is valued, and your influence becomes undeniable. Contribution transforms presence into desire. People are attracted to those who elevate the spaces they inhabit, who enhance experiences, and who create impact without expectation. When your actions consistently add value, when your energy consistently uplifts, and when your discipline consistently delivers results, you become someone people cannot ignore. Influence grows naturally. Respect becomes automatic. Recognition turns into admiration. The combination of self-belief, magnetic presence, disciplined boundaries, and relentless contribution transforms you into a person whose presence is not only noticed, but actively sought, deeply respected, and permanently valued. This is the power you are meant to claim, and it begins with the unwavering choice to honor your worth every single day. The moment you stop seeking validation from others, your value begins to expand exponentially. Every act of approval seeking, every attempt to fit into expectations that are not yours, weakens the presence you bring into the world. But the instant you commit to honoring your own standards, you activate a force that commands attention, respect, and recognition without effort. People are naturally drawn to those who operate from clarity, integrity, and self-respect. They sense when energy is authentic, disciplined, and unwavering, and they instinctively gravitate toward it. Being valued does not come from persuasion. It comes from becoming someone whose presence cannot be ignored. Your energy is your message. Every decision you make, every boundary you set, every action you take communicates something about your worth. When your thoughts, words, and deeds are aligned with your highest self, people feel it. They are drawn to your confidence, your discipline, and the consistency of your presence. This alignment becomes magnetic. It does not rely on charm, manipulation, or performance. It relies on authenticity, clarity, and unwavering self-belief. When you cultivate this force, recognition and respect become natural outcomes. You are no longer at the mercy of external approval. You create it by being undeniably yourself. Confidence is more than belief. It is mastery over hesitation, doubt, and distraction. Every time you allow fear or uncertainty to dictate your actions, you diminish your influence. But when you step forward with clarity and decisiveness, when you act from a place of competence and integrity, you create a presence that others cannot ignore. People sense authority, stability, and capability. They are compelled to notice, to respect, and to value your contribution. This is the psychology of magnetism. Confidence rooted in mastery generates influence, and influence generates recognition. It is an invisible force, but its effects are unmistakable. Boundaries are not walls, they are statements of value. When you protect your energy, your time, and your focus, you show the world that your presence is not disposable. People are instinctively drawn to what is rare, deliberate, and aligned with high standards. Every boundary you enforce reinforces your worth, magnifies your influence, and increases the demand for your attention. Scarcity is not manipulation, it is a natural outcome of disciplined self-respect. The more intentional you are with your energy, the more magnetic your presence becomes, and the more people seek connection with you on terms that honor your value. Contribution transforms recognition into desire. People are drawn to those who enhance their experiences, elevate their environments, and leave a tangible impact. When you consistently deliver value through action, insight, and presence, people do not merely notice, they actively seek alignment with you. Respect turns into admiration. Attention becomes influence, and your presence becomes essential. The combination of self-belief, magnetic energy, disciplined boundaries, and relentless contribution creates a force that cannot be ignored. This is the path to becoming someone whose value is not only recognized, but demanded, a presence that shapes the world around you simply by existing and refusing to compromise. Every deliberate choice you make reinforces this power, and the moment you fully embrace it, being valued ceases to be optional. It becomes your reality. Every time you compromise your standards, you send a message that your presence is negotiable. The world does not value what it can take for granted. Recognition, respect, and influence are reserved for those who operate from clarity, discipline, and unwavering self-belief. When you commit to honoring your worth, you create an energy that cannot be overlooked. People sense it instinctively. They respond to it, gravitate toward it, and begin to seek it out. Being valued is not about asking or performing. It is about cultivating a force within yourself so powerful that others have no choice but to recognize it. Your energy is the language that communicates your value. Every action, every decision, every boundary sends signals to the world about the person you are and the standards you uphold. When your energy is aligned with integrity, competence, and authenticity, it becomes magnetic. People feel it before they hear it. They respond to it before they consciously recognize it. This invisible force draws attention, commands respect, and creates demand for your presence. When you operate from this level of self-mastery, recognition becomes automatic. Influence flows naturally, and people begin to value you not because you ask for it, but because you have earned it through the consistent demonstration of your worth. Confidence is the cornerstone of magnetism. True confidence is not loud or boastful. It is quiet, unwavering, and rooted in mastery over doubt and hesitation. Every moment of indecision, self-doubt, or compromise diminishes your influence. But every act of decisiveness, every choice made with clarity and purpose, strengthens your presence. People sense authority, stability, and authenticity. They are compelled to notice, to respect, and to align with you. Influence grows in direct proportion to the consistency and strength of your confidence, creating a force that commands attention and naturally attracts respect. Boundaries amplify value. They are the invisible framework that communicates strength, focus, and self-respect. By protecting your time, energy, and attention, you signal that your presence is not disposable. People instinctively respond to scarcity and clarity. Every boundary you enforce reinforces your worth, magnifies your influence, and increases the demand for your attention. Boundaries are not walls. They are the markers of your value, the signals that say you operate from integrity, intention, and purpose. Those who recognize this instinctively seek alignment with you, creating a natural flow of admiration, respect, and recognition. Contribution transforms influence into desire. People are drawn to those who consistently elevate experiences, enhance environments, and create impact without expectation. When your presence, insight, and actions consistently deliver value, people do not merely notice, they actively seek it. Recognition turns into admiration, attention becomes influence, and presence becomes essential. The combination of self-belief, magnetic energy, disciplined boundaries, and relentless contribution creates a force that cannot be ignored. When you fully embody this, being valued is no longer optional. It becomes inevitable. Your presence commands it. Your energy demands it. And the world responds, finally seeing the power, worth, and influence you have always carried within. The most powerful force you can develop is the ability to stand fully in your own worth without waiting for anyone to validate it. When you internalize your value, you no longer look for permission to exist, to contribute, or to be recognized. Your presence alone becomes a statement. Every action you take, every word you speak, and every boundary you enforce communicates that your energy is not expendable, your time is not negotiable, and your contributions are meaningful. People feel this energy. They notice it, they respond to it. Influence, admiration, and recognition are no longer things you pursue. They become the natural outcome of the force you radiate. Authenticity is magnetic. When you align your thoughts, words, and actions with your true self, you create a resonance that people cannot ignore. They are drawn to your integrity, your clarity, and your confidence because it signals stability, competence, and power. This is the psychology of influence. Humans are naturally attracted to those whose energy is consistent, grounded, and deliberate. You do not have to force attention. You do not have to seek approval. The mere alignment of your presence with your worth creates a gravitational pull that draws people toward you, compels respect, and commands recognition. Confidence is not a superficial trait. It is a product of mastery. Mastery over your thoughts, emotions, and energy translates into a presence that is steady and compelling. Every decision you make with clarity, every action you take with intention, and every boundary you maintain reinforces your value. People sense authority and competence through energy more than through words. When your energy is grounded, decisive, and unwavering, people are naturally drawn to it. This magnetism elevates your influence, increases your visibility, and ensures that your presence is sought after, respected, and valued. Boundaries are not about isolation. They are about definition. They delineate where your energy begins and ends, showing the world that your contributions are purposeful and your time is precious. When you protect your energy consistently, people notice. They respect it. They recognize that your presence carries weight, that your input is meaningful, and that your influence is not casually given. This scarcity and intentionality elevate your value automatically. People do not just appreciate your presence. They seek it, desire it, and respect it on a deeper level because it has been earned through deliberate self-respect. Contribution multiplies influence into demand. People are drawn to those who consistently enhance their environment, elevate experiences, and create tangible impact. When your presence, actions, and insights consistently add value, admiration turns into necessity. Influence becomes a natural outcome. Recognition becomes automatic. You become someone the world cannot overlook. A person whose presence is not only appreciated, but actively sought after. By embodying self-belief, magnetic energy, disciplined boundaries, and relentless contribution, you cultivate a force that is undeniable. When you fully embrace this, being valued is no longer a hope or an aspiration. It becomes an inescapable reality. Every step you take, every decision you make, every boundary you enforce compounds into influence. The world responds to the energy you emit, and your value becomes the natural gravity around which opportunities, respect, and connection orbit. Your presence carries power beyond words, beyond recognition, beyond superficial attention. The energy you emit is the invisible signal that determines how the world responds to you. When you consistently align your actions, thoughts, and boundaries with the value you know you deserve, you create a force that cannot be ignored. People sense authenticity, discipline, and clarity immediately. They recognize when someone operates from intention rather than reaction, from confidence rather than doubt. This is the core of magnetism. Being fully yourself in a way that commands respect, admiration, and recognition naturally. You do not need to chase validation. The energy you carry ensures it comes to you. Confidence rooted in mastery is irresistible. It is not performative or loud. It is steady, grounded, and undeniable. When you master your mind, control your energy, and act in alignment with your highest self, people respond. They recognize authority, competence, and stability. Your presence becomes magnetic because it signals something rare, self-possession. Every choice you make with clarity, Every boundary you enforce without compromise, every act of discipline strengthens this magnetic field. Influence follows, respect follows. People begin to value your presence as indispensable. This is the difference between being noticed and being sought, between being appreciated and being indispensable. Boundaries define the architecture of your influence. They are the silent statement of your worth, the measure of how seriously others must take your presence. By protecting your time, your energy, and your attention, you communicate that your contributions are meaningful, that your presence has weight, and that your influence is not to be taken lightly. People respond instinctively to this clarity. Scarcity creates desire. Intentionality commands attention. Boundaries do not push people away. They draw the right people toward you, the people who recognize and respect your value. Every boundary you enforce strengthens your authority and deepens the admiration others feel for you. Contribution amplifies recognition into demand. People are drawn to those who consistently enhance their environments, elevate experiences, and deliver tangible value. When your presence, actions, and insights consistently benefit those around you, influence becomes inevitable. Recognition transforms into admiration. Attention evolves into desire. Your energy, discipline, and integrity create a gravitational pull that naturally draws people into alignment with you. The combination of unwavering self-belief, magnetic presence, disciplined boundaries, and relentless contribution forms a force that cannot be overlooked. Being valued is not earned through persuasion or performance. It is the natural outcome of mastery over yourself and your energy. The moment you commit fully to honoring your worth, protecting your presence, and amplifying your influence through contribution, the world responds. People seek you, respect you, and align themselves with you because your value is undeniable. Every deliberate choice you make compounds into influence. Every boundary you maintain magnifies your energy. Every act of contribution elevates your presence. This is the path to becoming someone whose recognition is not optional, whose influence is magnetic, and whose value is impossible to ignore. When you fully embrace this power, being sought, respected, and valued ceases to be a hope. It becomes your reality. The world responds to energy before it responds to words. Every choice you make, every boundary you enforce, every action you take communicates your value in ways that cannot be ignored. When you operate from clarity, discipline, and self-respect, your presence becomes magnetic. People feel it instinctively. They notice it unconsciously. They are drawn to it, compelled by it, and influenced by it. Recognition is no longer something you seek. It is the natural consequence of the force you radiate. To be valued is not about performing or persuading. It is about mastering yourself, your energy, and the standards you refuse to compromise. Confidence rooted in mastery is the cornerstone of influence. It is steady, quiet, and unwavering. When you master your thoughts, emotions, and energy, you create a presence that signals competence and authority. Every decision made with clarity, every boundary enforced without apology, every action taken with discipline compounds this magnetic energy. People sense it before they see it. They feel it before they understand it. This is the power of presence. It commands attention, respect, and recognition without effort. Influence follows naturally, and the world begins to align with the energy you emit. Boundaries amplify value. They are not walls, they are markers of self-respect. Protecting your time, energy, and focus signals to the world that your presence is meaningful and that your contributions carry weight. People respond instinctively to clarity and intentionality. Scarcity creates desire. Every boundary you maintain reinforces your authority, magnifies your influence, and deepens the admiration people feel for you. Boundaries are the silent architecture of your worth, shaping how others engage with you and ensuring your presence is never taken lightly. The more deliberate you are, the more people are drawn toward alignment with your energy. Contribution transforms recognition into demand. People are naturally attracted to those who enhance their environment, elevate experiences, and create impact without expectation. When your presence, actions, and insights consistently deliver value, recognition becomes automatic. Admiration follows, influence grows, your energy becomes indispensable. You are no longer simply noticed. You are sought, respected, and valued for the power, insight, and presence you consistently bring into every space. This is how you move from being appreciated to being essential, from being observed to being desired. Being valued is not granted by others. It is claimed through mastery of yourself and the energy you emit. The moment you honor your worth, protect your presence, and contribute consistently with integrity and discipline, the world responds. People seek your guidance, align with your energy, and recognize your contributions as rare and meaningful. Every choice, every act of self-respect, every moment of disciplined presence compounds into influence that cannot be ignored. When you fully embrace this power, recognition, admiration, and respect are no longer optional, they are inevitable. The energy you cultivate, the boundaries you maintain, and the contributions you make ensure that your value is undeniable, your presence is magnetic, and your influence becomes permanent. The moment you choose to honor your worth, the world begins to mirror that choice. Every act of self-respect, every boundary you enforce, every decision aligned with your highest standards, amplifies the force of your presence. People do not consciously calculate value. They feel it. They sense the energy of someone who refuses to shrink, who refuses to settle, and who refuses to compromise on their power. This energy is magnetic. It draws attention, commands respect, and creates a demand for your presence. Being valued is not something you wait for. It is the inevitable outcome of living in alignment with your worth. Confidence built on mastery is irresistible. It is not loud or performative. It is steady, deliberate, and undeniable. When you control your thoughts, manage your emotions, and act with intention, you send a signal that resonates deeply. People respond to competence and clarity instinctively. Every choice you make with precision, every boundary you maintain without apology, every action executed with discipline strengthens this magnetic presence. Influence follows naturally. Recognition becomes automatic. The world begins to seek alignment with your energy, your insight, and your presence because it cannot ignore the force you radiate. Boundaries are the silent declaration of your value. By protecting your time, your energy, and your focus, you communicate that your contributions are significant and your presence carries weight. People instinctively respond to clarity and intentionality. Scarcity heightens desire. Every boundary you maintain reinforces your authority, magnifies your influence, and deepens the respect others feel for you. Boundaries are not barriers. They are the framework through which your value is perceived, and they ensure that your energy is recognized as rare, meaningful, and indispensable. The more disciplined you are in upholding them, the more magnetic your presence becomes. Contribution elevates influence into necessity. People are naturally drawn to those who consistently enhance their environment, elevate experiences, and provide tangible value. When your actions, insights, and energy consistently benefit those around you, recognition turns into admiration. Influence grows exponentially. Your presence becomes indispensable. You are no longer simply observed. You are sought, respected, and desired. The combination of unwavering self-belief, deliberate presence, disciplined boundaries, and relentless contribution creates a force that cannot be ignored. Being valued evolves from a hope into an undeniable reality. Value is not granted, it is claimed. The moment you commit fully to mastering yourself, protecting your presence, and contributing with consistency and integrity, the world responds. People align with your energy, respect your contributions, and seek your guidance. Every deliberate choice, every boundary maintained, every disciplined action compounds into influence that is impossible to overlook. Recognition, respect, and admiration are no longer optional, they are inevitable. The energy you cultivate, the clarity you maintain, and the contributions you make ensure that your worth is undeniable, your presence is magnetic, and your influence becomes permanent. When you embody this fully, being valued is no longer a question, it is your reality. The power to be valued begins with the choice to stop negotiating your worth. Every time you shrink to make others comfortable, every time you compromise to gain approval, you dilute the energy that makes you magnetic. But the moment you refuse to settle, to apologize for your presence, or to minimize your contributions, you activate a force that draws attention, respect, and recognition naturally. People respond instinctively to authenticity, discipline, and clarity. They sense the authority of someone who operates from self-belief, who maintains unwavering standards, and who refuses to be diminished. This is the foundation of influence, the alignment of your energy with your worth. Confidence, rooted in mastery, is the engine that powers this influence. It is not performative or loud. It is grounded, steady, and undeniable. When you control your thoughts, regulate your emotions, and act with deliberate intention, you create a presence that signals competence and authority. Every choice made with clarity, every boundary maintained without compromise, and every disciplined action compounds your magnetic energy. Influence follows naturally. Recognition becomes automatic. People seek alignment with your energy because it communicates stability, authenticity, and undeniable value. This is how presence transforms into demand. Boundaries amplify your influence and communicate your worth without words. Protecting your time, energy, and focus signals that your presence is meaningful and your contributions carry weight. Scarcity drives desire. People instinctively respond to clarity and intentionality. Every boundary you enforce strengthens your authority, magnifies your influence, and increases the admiration others feel for you. Boundaries are not limitations. They are the architecture of respect. They define the space your energy occupies and ensure that your presence is recognized as rare, deliberate, and valuable. The more disciplined you are, the more magnetic your presence becomes, and the more people seek connection with you. Contribution transforms recognition into necessity. People are drawn to those who consistently enhance their environments, elevate experiences, and create tangible impact. When your presence, actions, and insights consistently deliver value, attention evolves into influence, and influence becomes essential. You are no longer merely noticed. You are actively sought, deeply respected, and valued for the consistent power you bring into every space. The combination of unwavering self-belief, disciplined presence, strong boundaries, and relentless contribution creates a force that cannot be ignored. This is how being valued moves from aspiration to inevitability. Value is not something others grant. It is something you claim by mastering yourself, protecting your energy, and contributing consistently with integrity. Every deliberate choice, every boundary you maintain, every act of disciplined presence compounds into influence that is impossible to overlook. The world responds to the energy you emit, the clarity you maintain, and the contributions you make. Recognition, respect, and admiration are no longer optional, they are automatic. The moment you embody this fully, being valued ceases to be a question or a hope, it becomes a certainty.